Hello, Internet. I have received something that I hope I'll be proud to present to you. These are soldering tweezers. Now, before I go talk about them in too much of a detail, let me go ahead and straighten out these jaws so that, well, by the way, this is very nice. The fact that these soldering tips are actually secured with a screw, uses a little tiny Allen wrench, is already better than the weep tweezers that I use, because they don't get secured. They just kind of rotate freely in there, relying on whatever tension the socket provides, which isn't a big deal, but sometimes if you squeeze them hard enough, they kind of get out of the alignment. Whereas these, it's already nice to see the fact that these get secured and they do not rotate freely. So no matter how hard you squeeze, they will stay in alignment, which is perfect. So let's see. Yep, just regular tips. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and align them so that they are facing each other. Once it's squeezed all the way, I do want to have a little bit of gap for like a small tiny resistor. And the other great thing is, unlike this, they hardly ever align, and there's so much wobble room. Let me zoom in so you can see. So if I were to move these around, see how much free play there is? Yeah, so if you're doing like a 0402 resistor, that's a problem. But these ones, there's like no play whatsoever. It's so tight. It's like almost nothing. And I'm already starting to see a little problem. So even with the jaws aren't moving freely, they are not perfectly aligned. What about this guy here? This one's the same. Okay. So they're not perfectly aligned on their own. I don't know if you can see it, but the right jaw is a little bit higher. So that kind of gives me issues aligning the tips together. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the end of the day. Depending on how you want these aligned, you can just rotate them. You can still get them right. See, if you want to do them this way, there's absolutely no problem with that. So we're just gonna leave it the way it is. And I wasn't even expecting them to send two of these, but they did, because apparently the other one, oh, it's the same. It just has different tips. Very nice. So let's go and secure this, because I do need these tweezers to have different tips. And given the fact that it's not going to be super easy to swap these, I mean, it's easy if you don't secure them, but having two, and they're not even that expensive anyway, is better. Especially this one here. This one here is going to help me with removing big things like fuses and whatnot. So yeah, I had these type of tips on these tweezers, but they were too big, so I ended up getting just a regular. I forgot what it is, like a 245 or something. And it was a compromise. I would still be able to use it for small components. Like, let me show you, because I want to see. I want this. I want to practice on this thing today. So, like, I wouldn't have any problems with like a regular small tiny resistors or capacitors or whatever. Sometimes it's hard to get the capacitors out. Like a little tiny resistor like here, this one, I wouldn't have any problems getting that off. Capacitor, if it's linked to the ground, I would have to apply some air, and I also wouldn't be able to lift the fuses because there's a lot of heat here. Needs a lot of heat here, and even though with 450 degrees maximum on these tweezers, I can't get the fuse off the board. So even if I try it now, it's just not doing it. Yeah, it's 450 right now, and it's not going anywhere unless I add a little bit of lead-free solder and and start blowing hot air on top of it. Or I could have used tips that are similar to this and these little paddles, and it makes it a lot easier. But that makes it a little easier for the big parts. Now, enough of that. This holder here is really nice. I mean, the whole handpiece, it just feels so good in your hands. It just feels so natural. Very nice. I like it. So that rests in here. So, and it's gonna stay here like this on your table. So this holder is completely adjustable. So you can see these holes. You can screw this post to the base however you like. You can have it pointed this way, this way, this way, all the way in and out. This little cup here is for a sponge, which I think is completely useless. But even this station, I'm gonna have to show it to you. Why am I hiding it all the time? Hold on a second. Even this station here, there's no meaningful way to clean the tips. It's kind of difficult to do this. I mean, it's not very easy. It should have been either one big opening or two smaller openings where you can, clean it like this. And then this here is practically useless. But it's like an industry standard, so I'm not gonna blame them for putting that on there. It's, the fact that they have a small opening here for the sponge is better than nothing. So, okay, so the handle goes in very nice, super nice. I absolutely love the way it goes in. Let me go ahead and secure. Yeah, I don't know whoever made these. Company called SEQURE. Square, almost like a square. So things aren't exactly square, as you can see. I'm having some difficulties aligning these tips.
It's not the end of the world.
Yes, it is.
If you think it's the end of the world, let me know. The other thing is, I don't really know how this works because I just got it and I basically literally just opened it up. So we have two power ports in here. So one is a USB-C, which comes with this beefy cable. So this cable is like super thick. And it's soft at the same time, which is nice. Company name on the cable, so the cable is not some kind of a cheap junk. Okay, so that goes in here. It's 65-watt brick. That's a lot of power. So, which means it's probably going to work really well. Yeah, there you go, 20 volts. So you can actually supply up to 28 volts into this thing. But my question is this thing wireless? Because as soon as I plug the cable out, it goes blank. I don't think this thing is wireless. I thought it was wireless, but whatever. It's small, it's tiny, and I don't know how this works. Let me see. Okay, so right now it's at 26 degrees. So how do you activate this? Do you press hold? I don't know what that means. So do I just use it and it automatically does its thing, or wouldn't that be amazing? I don't know how to use this. I'll figure out the controls later. See if I can get this fuse off. Almost. And by the way, I'm not adding any leaded solder in here. It's all lead free. It's all original. And it's got it melted. And I think I'm getting it out. Almost. There we go. That was a little hard. Harder than it should have been. But we got it out. Now, I really want to get 450 out of this thing. So let me go ahead and figure this out, how this works. Alright, so I pushed the buttons again. It went into 450. Then I pushed this button to activate it. And let's go ahead and try to remove another fuse with 450 and a little bit of flux. Oh my god, almost effortless. Beautiful. Now the ultimate test. So that was very nice. I like that. Let's remove the shunt resistor. If I can remove shunt resistor with these tweezers, then I'm keeping them. Okay, let's see if I can get this thing off. No way. No way. Wow, amazing. I am absolutely amazed with how this works. The only question now I have is, how long will it last? So that goes in like this. Um, though, one thing I'd like to see, because right now it stays on. So how do you turn it off? Is there a quick way to turn it off? Oh, just one click and it goes out. No? No, that was a temperature drop. Go here for 50. So let's press and hold. So I press and hold, then it changes to stop. And the problem with that is it didn't give me any kind of audible signal that it stopped. Nor did it give me any audible signal that it started. It just changes what's on the display, which is fine, but I would like to hear some kind of a noise, some kind of a sound. And I really hope that this USB port here is actually allowing you to program the firmware that's on the board. That would be incredible. And I also wonder if I can plug my regular lab power supply into here. It looks like I could, but it doesn't fit very well. It's pulling 12 volt. I'm gonna give this thing 20 volt. See what it likes to do. Yeah, it's operating at roughly. It fluctuates between between half to 1 amp. If you start applying it, if you start actually desoldering something. So at 20 volts, about just under an amp is what it's doing, which is incredible. I really like this. I really like the versatility. The only thing that I don't like is that this socket here isn't exactly standard, because I can't really fit my standard adapter into here. It just doesn't fit. Yeah. So, a little bit unfortunate, but whatever. Let's go ahead and try something smaller with a smaller unit. And for that, we're going to have to go into under a microscope. Now let's see if I can remove this resistor. Not happening. At 350, this is not happening. Okay. Let's increase to 400. Not happening. I don't know, this resistor could be grounded. That's why it may be hard. So if it was a regular resistor that's not grounded, because this looks like this is a grounded resistor. Let's go ahead and try this resistor here. See, one side melted, but the other one doesn't want to. It's probably grounded too. Hard to say. Okay, let's do 450. 2 seconds and we're at 450. Very quick. And looks like we're getting somewhere. Not quite. But if we add a little bit of solder, the leaded solder. Okay, I can't even. Alright, can't add solder. Okay, right there. So if we add a little bit of leaded solder to the mix, then there we go. There we go. Okay, so we got it out. Now you got to keep in mind, we're working on a graphics card. It is a massive heatsink, is what it is. So I won't be able to do that exact same thing with the other tweezers any better than I'm able to do it with this one. So let me go ahead and try it out on this resistor here. So I'm using the WEP tweezers now to compare. See if I can get this resistor out. A little better, but I still can't get it out. And given the fact that the tips are a little bit bigger, I'm still struggling. And there's no way I'm gonna get this one out, because one side is grounded. See, only one side is melting, and the left side doesn't want to melt at all because it's grounded. So only if I start adding a little bit of hot air, it will probably let go. But right now, it's just not gonna happen. If I can put that resistor back to where it belongs, I think it's gonna be challenging, because at 450, see, this is one thing, you don't want maximum temperatures on these things, because at those temperatures, your tips, they start to degrade, and once they start degrading, they start to oxidize, and they start to literally shed themselves. And so what ends up happening is you're breaking down all of its layers, one layer at a time, and eventually you end up killing it. Whatever. So let's go ahead and try to put that resistor back to where it belongs. But this time we're gonna add a little bit of heat to the board with some air, and we're gonna go with 350. There's our resistor. See, a little bit of heat, and it's a lot easier process. So we can get that thing down in there. We can even remove this one here. We're doing 350 right now, and we have no problem removing this capacitor at 350. And at 350, your jaws will last a whole lot longer. So if you're thinking that these tips can't handle your board, you're wrong. You're just not using it right. There's no way that even if I had genuine JBC station, it would still not be able to do this. No matter what. I would still have to apply some heat to the board to help. There's no way it can remove component from the board, from the kind of board that is so large and it's just acting as a heat sink. So let's go ahead and solder that shunt resistor back onto the board. I will add a little bit of let it solder on there. Wow, that was easy. Super easy. I absolutely like how easy it is. I have never had an easier experience soldering fuses on and off the board. Very interesting. Let's solder this one on. Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's on there, but I don't want 300. I don't want 450 degrees, no matter what tips I use, because 450 is just overkill. And the components, they may get soldered onto the board, but they're just not going to sit there very nice. And a lot of times you're just damaging the tips, and you're burning off the flux. See, at 350 with a little bit of air and a little bit of flux. See, right there, that's what you want to see. We do not want 450 degrees in here. Come on. There we go. Okay, now let's do the ultimate test. And the ultimate test would be to use larger paddles to remove a coil. I'm not even going to secure these paddles right now. I'm just going to use them the way they are. Okay. Okay, so that turns on. Automatically goes on. Yeah, let's go. Let's put a little bit of flux on here, and let's see if we can remove a coil. we're probably gonna have to do 450 on here. So let's remove the coil. Taking a little bit of time. Oh, almost, almost. There we go. Holy cow, this is incredible. Wow. I am genuinely impressed. I'm gonna dial this back down to 350. Add a little bit of leaded solder on there, if I can. And we're going to put that coil back on, assisting with air, because 450 is too much. You do not want to work with 450 under any circumstances. Yeah, 350, a little bit of flux to make things look smooth. That's all you need. And obviously assistance with hot air. There we go. Wonderful. So that goes back onto the rest. What I'd like to see is some sort of a magnetic activation, but I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. I would really like to see some way of this thing to be more interactive, where I would put it in here and it stops, I take it out and it starts. But right now I have to change the state of the heating element by pressing this button here. See, work, and we stop, and then we cycle temperature presets like so. Whoa, 500, holy cow, you do not want 500, trust me. So 350 is probably a good number for most of the work, especially if you're assisting with hot air, unless you're working on a small device such as a phone or whatever. But other than that, I really like the aesthetics of this. It just feels good. It really feels good to handle. Though the handle itself is a little bit longer compared to this. So in this one, you're kind of grabbing it, and it also feels good. I'm not complaining about it. Yeah, just it feels right either way. This one's just a little bit more bulky, takes a bit more space, and as a station itself, it takes a whole lot more space by comparison. 3 of these would probably occupy the exact amount of space as one of these does, and the price, I think this one is more expensive than one of these. So you could probably, for the price of one, you can get 2 of these. And but it really depends. You know, it depends on how your workflow and what your needs are. I'm not going to ditch this anytime soon because it's a working unit, you know. But I would probably switch to these for one purpose only, and that is because I can have 2 stations taking less space on the table, and I will not have to switch tips in order to do different types of work. So whereas with this one, I would have to, unless I rig up some sort of a modification switch, which would allow me to switch between different tips tweezers. That's probably gonna be a project. I would have to 3D print some kind of a holder, that's gonna look similar to this, and just gonna implement some sort of a switch. It's gonna be a lot of modification work involved. With this one, I don't have to. Now, I do have a complaint already about this particular unit, is that it's the handles in there. It's not falling out by any means, even if it's like not inserted all the way. It's there, but it just doesn't feel like it sits very well. It's a bit too loose. So I don't know if they could fix this somehow just by making it stick out further out. That would be very simple 3D print solution. But other than that, and also since we're dealing with tweezers here, it would be nice to have some sort of way of easily cleaning the tips easier. Let's say maybe a brush or something that would be sticking up, and then you just kind of go like this, because you don't necessarily clean these tips the same way you clean a regular tip, such as this one. This one you probably want to stick it into. Let me show you what I mean. Let me bring in one of these guys over here. So with this type of tip, you probably want to stick it in there and just kind of turn it around and use it that way. Or I have a little bit of cloth here. This cloth isn't burning, so I just wipe the tip off of that cloth. Works really well. These used to be my pajamas, and that's what I'm using them for now. um, and that does the tip cleaning very well. But having a sponge here, it's just a waste of space, in my opinion. And there's a little bit of room for improvement in terms of the base. But other than that, I think this is super nice. Very nice little things. I will absolutely switch from my old station to these because they take less space. And the other complaint is that your jaws, they're not perfect. So I don't know if this can be fixed inside, or maybe it's a manufacturing defect. I do not know. So, but it looks like it's consistent because two different units have the exact same issue. If we were to look at them really close when they're together, you can see that the one on the right sticks out a bit too high, and then this one is doing a little better, but not a whole lot. So, which makes these jaws, which I'm kind of forced to align these jaws a little bit crooked as a result of that, and it also makes the alignment of even finer tips, you can see here, a lot more complicated. So this is definitely, it's not a big issue, but this is definitely is an issue. It just kind of forces me to align things in a little bit of an odd orientation. Not the end of the day, but nonetheless, it would be nice to get that fixed. So that's probably all I have for you today. Really nice things were sent to me by this SEQURE company, or however they like to pronounce themselves. Really appreciate you watching my content and found me worthy of reviewing your product. And to all of my viewers and repair technicians out there, I would absolutely recommend this because based on what I see, comparing it to the WEP unit that I have, these are absolute blast with the little tiny quirks. If I knew these existed and I knew how good they were, I probably bought them myself a long time ago, because tweezers are saving a lot of grief over repairs such as graphics cards, where things have to be removed that are not necessarily large, but because of the board being so large, it's nearly impossible to get anything off of it without assisting with the hot air or preheating the board on a preheater. Before we send this back to the manufacturer for repair or upgrade, actually, I found some cool stuff. So let's go ahead and let's go into the heat menu. So hit menu, press and hold, then we go and press and hold to enter the menu. And then this is where we change the work temperature. The work temperature is the temperature at which it starts to work as soon as the power cable plugged in. So let's go back in there. But if we scroll down, and there's a start heat, and currently it's off. So what start heat does is it will turn itself on automatically to the working temperature that we saw earlier as soon as you plug in the cable. We obviously don't want to do that. So that option is off by default. Now in the idle, you can actually change some of these values. Sleep time. So I want this thing to go into sleep after 10 seconds. Press two buttons to confirm. Scroll down. Idle time. I want to change the idle time. Oops. I don't know exactly what these things will do. Screen is on. Let's see if I can change this to 5. And I want to see what it does. Maybe it has some sort of a detection mechanism where it detects itself being used or not being used. I don't know. Idle. So maybe in the Chinese vocabulary, idle is actually sleep. And sleep is actually idle. So we're going to have to figure this out. So I'm going to set this to 20 seconds. And then we'll see what it does after 20 seconds. 30 seconds. Okay, so 30 seconds is the maximum that we can go to. Okay, so now let's just wait, and it should exit the menu by itself, I think, and exit the menu by itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what it does when we start doing some work. Let's imagine we're doing something. Obviously, we're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna pretend, you know, put some flux, whatever. So it's not doing anything. Okay, so we're gonna activate, press and hold to activate. So we're working. Okay, so let's say we're doing stuff, we're soldering stuff, and we stop for 10 seconds. Start countdown. 10 seconds. Okay, so it went into sleep after 10 seconds. What happens when it hits 20 seconds? Or 30, yeah, because we gotta wait 30 seconds. And I want to see what it does after 30 seconds. See, right now, okay, so now it says complete stop. Okay, so I see. So I think that we can adjust the sleep temperature. Let's go into the menu real quick. Heat or idle. Probably idle. So sleep timer, sleep temperature. Okay, so we can tell this thing at what temperature you want to sleep. So that way we can grab it and it's ready to go. See? Let's see. Sleep timer. See, sleep temperature. We can change sleep temperature to probably higher degree if we wanted to. Yes. So that way it will sleep at, let's say, 200 degrees. But you don't want it to sleep at anything other than 0, because whatever temperature is applied to the tips, it will gradually eat them away. So the way this works right now is probably fine out of the box, though I would dial back the idle all the way down as low as possible, so that way it does not stay on all the time. So the one thing to keep in mind is that when it sleeps, when you touch it and you start to work, it will actually continue to work. So it'll activate itself. But once it hit the stop, once it hits once it says stop, let's say I put that on here. Okay, let's see. Reset. Okay, so we're still working. Put that on here. Count down 10 seconds. It'll go into sleep. So as long as I grab the handle while it says sleeping on the screen. See, right now it says sleep. So I can pull it out and it will resume heating up. But if I leave it long enough for it to go into a idle mode, which should actually be sleep. I don't know why can't Chinese get this thing right. Sleep in the idle mode, whatever, who cares? So once it hits the stop where it no longer sleeps, because right now it's still sleeping, right? So we're just gonna wait for it to turn into stop. Okay, see, now that we're in stop, so once we pull it out, if it was in the stop, it's not gonna wake up until you actually activate this. So that's really neat feature that I didn't expect to see, but it is there, and it makes these tweezers even more desirable than I originally thought. So yeah. Also, I was able to get my jaws tips aligned significantly better, and all I did was I took the back cover off. This is the back cover, all the screws, and I heated this area here with the hot air, and I bended it down just a little bit, and that was enough to keep the two jaws squeezed a little bit more together. No, not applying a whole lot of friction, but just to squeeze them enough together that they would stay a little bit more aligned. So I don't know if the manufacturers could do that, make small adjustments to the mold, to the plastic mold, to make the misalignment issue go away. But that was it. Again, thank you for watching and have a blessed day. Goodbye. Now, for all of the nerdy uh, people that are watching my stuff, let's do some more of a critical comparison of these soldering tweezers. So let's go ahead and grab a regular tip, and we're going to ignore the voltage spike as you remove this from the rest, because there's a spike to warm up the tip. So once tip is warmed up, that's what we're going to be checking. So we're looking at, hopefully you can see, almost nothing. The biggest I've seen is probably 1 volt. I do see short spikes, maybe no higher than 1.5, maybe 2 volt, maybe max. Now let's take this guy. We're gonna ignore the initial spike. We're just gonna look at when it's stabilized. We can probably see it at its operating state, how it rises a little bit. So we'll probably rise up to 2 volts at most under load. Then that was a regular tip, 245 I think, or whatever the number is. This here, the weep tweezers. So let's give it a little bit of load, see what it's doing. Practically nothing. As a matter of fact, the DC volt even jumps down to negative. Almost nothing. Maybe 2 volts is what I'm seeing. Okay. Now let's try these tweezers and see what they do. Now these guys are jumping almost up to 6 volt at times, from what I'm seeing right here. So it kind of stabilizes at 5. And if we give them a load, oh goodness, yeah. So when this thing is under load, yeah, it goes all over the place. So yeah, well above 5 volt mark, which means these tweezers could potentially cause issues with certain chips. It might kill certain chips. It might not. I don't know. I haven't had any issues with the other soldering stations, but none of them had the voltage spike as high as this. So if any of you engineers are watching and you know a little bit better, a little more about this, in the AC, I'm actually measuring about 12 volt or so, and all the other ones in the AC are measuring 6 volt. So it's double the voltage leak compared to other stations. Most likely a hardware limitation, giving it size. But if you know whether or not this is going to be safe to use for sensitive electronics, such as low voltage operating circuits that we have on the graphics cards, laptops, and whatnot, phones, God forbid. And if these things are dangerous to be used on those devices, please let me know in the comment section below. I will greatly appreciate your input. But at this point, given what I've seen so far, it seems like this is going to be more of a general soldering type of thing rather than a professional equipment. Which kind of puts me in a position where I'm not really sure whether or not I should be advertising this as a product that I would use myself. So until I get all of your comments cleared out, I will probably set this aside and will continue on using my old Weep tweezers because I know they have done no harm. But as far as these ones go, who knows? Hopefully they're good. I would like to hear your thought on that. and really appreciate you taking time to post a comment regarding my discovery. Have a blessed day.